Hello, and welcome to The Leap. We are really glad you are here and want to thank you for joining us today. This is your podcast to guide you on how you too can make the leap from working for someone else to being in business for yourself full time. Before we dive in, remember you can find the audio podcast version of this episode and others on Apple Music, Spotify, and SoundCloud. Now let's begin. Here's your host and fellow leaper, Tim May.
Hello, this is Tim May, and welcome to The Leap. So excited about my guest today. Oh my goodness, y'all are in for a treat today. Kindle Rayfield. Kindle, let's just jump right on into this.
Okay.
Because this is going to be power packed. Tell them, what do you do?
I am an owner and operator of a pet resort, a luxury pet resort.
And I've been there. And it's definitely more luxurious than the first 4 apartments I ever lived in.
Oh my goodness!
It's pristine. I mean, it's amazing. How many is it? Breeds of? Is that the term? Breeds of types of dogs, or how many types of dogs do you come in on a monthly basis?
We see all different breeds, from long hair Weimaraners to Dobermans to Shih Tzus to just anything, you name it, we see it. And we tend to see some of the more designer breeds, but we see your share of rescues as well, and we love all of them.
Yep. Do you have any Pomeranians that
we do? We do.
Oh my gosh. You know my wife, when we had our Pomeranian who passed away about a year and a half ago, it was just amazing, just the cutest thing on earth. And his name Nori, and he was kind of chill for a Pomeranian. I heard Pomeranians can have a little sass attitude to them.
Typically they do. They do have a little bit of sass, but they're all great. I remember your wife sharing her dog and my former dog shared some of the same health challenges.
Okay. We're going to get into the story of how you got there, but let's let the listeners learn a little bit more about you.
Okay.
Where are you from?
I am from Lynchburg, Virginia.
Okay.
I came to Richmond in 1996.
Okay. So do your family move? You came for school or what was that?
I came for college. So I came in 96 and went to Virginia Commonwealth University. And I was there for about 6 years because I changed my major.
Okay. All right.
Majored in clinical lab sciences. So I got a bachelor's in clinical lab sciences. And then I went on to get a master's from MCV. Back then it was MCV in health administration. And so I worked in that area for clinical laboratory for about 12 and a half years.
Wow.
And became director of 3 clinical laboratories for a local hospital corporation in Richmond.
Wow. Whoa. Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. And that has nothing to do
Absolutely
with a pet resort.
No.
So, okay. So you're working full time. Like, take me back though. Was there any part in your childhood that entrepreneurship, like the birth of entrepreneurship came, or, was there anything that came up?
So always just had a crazy passion for pets, a crazy connection to dogs or cats, or I even used to I won't go there, training certain bugs.
Yep.
It was crazy. I was kind of tomboyish as a little girl, but just always had a crazy connection. I can't say when I really noticed the entrepreneurship bug biting me, but I do know that growing up in groups of friends, I was always the leader. It could be as simple as, okay, we all go to the mall. Who takes the lead and tells us where to go?
Yep.
And I just naturally gravitated, even in my career, towards leadership roles. So I guess in some sense that was that trait coming up.
So you were a director level.
Yes,
where you were working full time. I talked to you before we went on the air. I mean, I never made more than $55,000 in a year. Directors make more than that. And, let's just talk through. I mean, you have a real job. Like, it's the job where when you say I'm a director of XYZ, people are like patting you on your back and looking up to you. And what was it at what point in your career were you like, I want to do something different?
Mm-hmm. So, I was making a little over $100,000 a year.
Yeah,
I had amazing
sure.
benefits
Yeah.
and just a great reputation. You know, in any corporation, you want to have a good reputation, and all of your superiors know they can go to you and get it done. However, I eventually began going to a church, and by going to that church, my relationship with God just went to another level. And so I began developing, I guess, real relationship and allowing my faith and who I believe in to direct me. And so I literally was sitting at my desk one day and still preparing to go into administration. My goal was to be chief operating officer of the hospital.
Okay.
I wanted to be in that role. And so hence getting the master's and all of that to position me for that. However, I was sitting at my desk one day and I heard God say to me, "You go no further." And so I didn't quite know that that meant pet resort, but I knew in my spirit that that meant that I was no longer to pursue administration or the projects. I was kind of to back off the projects that you do to kind of get you the exposure. Back off now. This is not the path that I have for you. Back off. And so, you know, shortly after that, I ended up, you know, meeting my husband, or it may have been after I met my husband that those directions came. And so, you know, time went on, and later I found out what it was I was supposed to do.
Mm-hmm.
And again, that was another directive in my spirit from God that said, do your own pet resort. And so that would mean, and of course, you know, I respect my pastor. I check with him about every major decisions in my life. And, you know, I asked for permission to step down from my job, and things laid out in place. And I took that leap, and I put in my resignation from that job and left, had to leave everything behind, you know, security, I guess, worldly security.
Sure.
You know, and you literally, I tell people I went to the edge of a cliff and I jumped. And I said, I'm going to put you to the test. And sure enough, it's been great. Now, you know, to encourage others to kind of do the same thing. I don't believe that you will make a step like that you feel like you're being led to do and fail. And I don't believe that that direction is going to come to you to have you in a lower position than you were in the world. So now I'm proud to say that I can match all that they gave me and exceed it. So
true. So true. But there's still someone listening that's like, but I had this paycheck, this security, these amazing benefits. And so just walk me through the day you decide. So you hear from God, walk me through the day you decide, I'm going to make this move. Walk me through kind of what's going through your mind.
Yep. So my husband is an artist, and we were doing an event together at another pet resort in Northern Virginia, and still hadn't thought about owning a pet resort at all. So we're coming from this event, and we had actually done an event with this resort. He was drawing animals at that point. And we had done maybe about 4 events with this pet resort. And the last one we did, we actually met the owner. And it was actually a terrible experience. The way, you know, she interacted with us and clients. And so on the drive back, I was literally emotional about it because of the way we viewed that resort and just the dealings with the owner. For some reason, I was like deeply saddened by that. And so I was crying. Like, I could not believe it. And so I'm looking out the window and I hear in my spirit, do your own pet resort. And so that night, so I say something to him immediately. He grabs my hand. We get in prayer. He's like, we're going to pray right now and be in agreement. And so that night I started the business plan. That very night. And so then I just started, I'm still at the other place. And then I just started, it's so much I didn't know. I honestly didn't know about commercial brokers or real estate agents. I knew about residential, but I didn't know about commercial. So I had to learn how to come because I knew we needed a brick and mortar. Well, how do I find that? So there was so much that I didn't know, but I had the word and no, I had the passion for the animals too. I mean, I was like, this is brilliant. So start the business plan, and within 10 months, we were open. And I guess when I got that word, I had made up in my mind, I'm going for this. And he was in agreement with it. So
give me some, because people want to know, Kindle must have had $1 million in the bank. She must have had a ton of money in the bank. So how much money did you have in the bank at the time? If you can even think back.
I don't even know the dollar amount, but I know the wisdom we received before we left was to have 2 months worth of living expenses saved up.
Yep.
And so we did that. We had 2 months of living expenses saved up, maybe a little more. So we literally, once I left the job, I had put in my resignation, gave them a month's notice. We didn't have a building for the business yet.
Wow.
So we were on one income, my husband's income, because we didn't have it yet. And so, finally, maybe about 2 months later, we had the building, but I still didn't really pay myself that whole year. We didn't open until that following October. I left in April. But we still weren't getting the income for me to pay myself. So we were just kind of making it off of my husband's income. Yeah, but we managed. We never had to go without. We never didn't have food. We had to be smart about it, but everything fell into place.
Kendall, I say to people all the time when they want to start their own business is that they need to do the prep work to make sure that their lifestyle forms around the business, not to make a business to form around their lifestyle. Meaning, when they want to start a business, it's wise to make good financial decisions, living below your means. Because there will be opportunities in your business where you may need to take an extra $500 or $1,000 or whatever to buy this, whatever it is. And if you got to make a decision between whatever that is and that car payment of an electric vehicle, it can stifle the growth of your business. I love that you said it took me 6 months to a year to consistently start paying myself. Because in my industry, and when I got my travel agency started, I pay myself sparingly, maybe month 8, 9. I didn't put myself on a consistent salary until month 16, 17, 18. Yeah. So I was paying other employees. So it's not like there wasn't any money coming in. There was money coming in. I was just paying employees. Absolutely. And so the good financial wisdom that you just gave, 2 to 3 to so months, of monthly expenses so that you have cushion. Good, proper planning. It's huge. But I don't want our listeners to miss something. You said you moved on it even when you didn't have a building.
Absolutely. I did not have the building yet, but I knew we were going to get it. I just knew it had to happen. And so that story is just, so we didn't have the building, and then we had an agent who was taking us around, and he had shown us this building, and he said the owner is difficult to work with. I've dealt with this gentleman before. He's been difficult to work with, but we'll see. So get in contact with this owner of this building. We get in contact with his brokers. We're able to walk through, see the building. I saw arches, and I kind of knew this is Kingdom right here. Furr Kingdom is the name. Yeah. And the arches just made sense. So, but I didn't want to get too excited about it because I didn't know. But anyway, long story short, so we are having a hard time coming to an agreement with this gentleman. First, he says, he agreed he'll work with us. And then he says he's not going to negotiate. But anyway, he eventually negotiates after So we had talked with our pastor and asked him to come out and see the building and all of that. And he was going to get with us when he had an open time. So the day he calls my husband, we had said, we can't come to an agreement. We don't want to waste your time. We literally was having a community meeting because you have to go through like 5 different processes with the county.
Yeah.
So we were holding our community meeting that day and couldn't get in the building because we couldn't come to an agreement. The owner wouldn't give us the key to get in. So our pastor called, it's time for him that he was going to come look at it. We didn't want to waste his time. He said, I'll be there in an hour. So he comes and he's standing outside with us, taking time. Literally the next week, maybe, the owner of the building calls us. We had been dealing with brokers prior to that, never talked to him personally. The owner of the building calls my husband out of the blue and says, I understand you're looking at my building. Can we meet this afternoon at 3? So we end up meeting that afternoon at 3. I had time. And that evening, long story short, we come to a deal, negotiated what we wanted on a handshake. But what he says, this gets really spiritual, but what he says to us, and totally of a different persuasion, he says, I knew I had to meet with you guys because something came in my room and woke me up. He said, I was in the bed with my wife. Something came in my room and told me I had to meet with you guys. We knew it was Holy Spirit. We knew who it was. And he did the deal on a handshake. So then from there, we got the building. Now we have to finish going through the processes with the county for a pet resort. You have to get a conditional use permit. According to the ordinances in the county, it has to be on a minimum of 5 acres. And more than 5 animals is considered a kennel. But it needs to be on a minimum of 5 acres. And it has to be so many distances from a house, where our property sits on 1.32 acres, I believe it is.
Okay.
So we're well under that. So we meet with the county planning commission, and they're like, yeah, this is not going to be, you can't do it right here. You can do it if you say you'll do daycare and grooming. However, not for boarding. Okay. Because that's overnight and that's pets and that's a kennel. And we're like, okay, but the administrator's like, but go ahead and just keep going with the process anyway, and we'll see. So long story short, we have to go back in to another meeting with more county administrators. And it was as if the ordinance disappeared. Nobody mentioned it. Nobody talked about it. I mean, we didn't change our application. Yep. We put boarding on our application because that was the vision. That's the main portion of our business. And so we go back in and we're ready and we're just like, this is it. We can't change it. And everybody's like, yeah, this is great. Go for it. It's like the ordinance disappeared. Yep. And so every door literally opens when you are doing what you're supposed to do. So we got through all of that. We had to go through board of supervisors, make presentations, and we were in by October. But we actually had been given the luxury to go in the building and do what we needed to do by the owner before we even had everything with the county.
And this was the difficult
owner. Absolutely, but not for us.
That's right.
We had that was a great experience for us. But yeah, so just once you know what it is that you're supposed to do, obstacles will likely appear, but you just stick to it and you keep going and it'll come to fruition.
It's a beautiful thing. Walk me through the night before you open up the doors for the first time.
I can't even remember. It was, but I'm sure we were very excited and very, nervous. And we had one dog come through the door with my dog. So those 2 dogs, and that customer still comes to us today. They are one of our best customers. Wow. And I mean, we have a personal relationship with them. But that first little dog, his name was Brody. And he was the first dog through the door. And I think the only dog that day, the first day, we got one dog. And then, so we had him and my dog running around in daycare taking pictures and putting it on Facebook. Yep. And so then the next day we got maybe 2 more dogs. And then, I mean, it just took off. word of mouth is our biggest promotion. And we've had thousands of dogs now, thousands of dogs. We are $500,000 business in 3 years.
Wow.
That's, I just want to, I really encourage people, like, definitely go after your own business, but just make sure it's something that you're passionate about, because I knew nothing about running a pet resort. But my experience in healthcare prepared me for this experience. So just rely on, I guess, kind of what you've done to guide you, and you'll have like a foundation for what you need to do. You may have never been in this field before, but if you have the passion, it's going to drive the knowledge you're going to need to acquire. It's going to drive everything. And so you'll make it. Just have a passion for it. Not just like, I want to be in real estate at some point, get into real estate. I love real estate, but my deep passion has to do with pets. So that's the driving, that drives everything. So.
Oh my God. So with pets, like, they are attracted to you. They love your spirit, right? And there's some people that walk around and they're like, I don't want to be around that human being. That's kind of how it works.
Yeah, and I just get them. People will be like, oh, they're mean, they're aggressive, but I can see exactly what they need or what they're not sure about.
That's a gift from God. Not everyone has that. And our listeners, there's something that God has gifted you that, you can do. And, man, this is so good. So, all right. So that's the first day. And I love, you said, first day, one person walked in. There's one.
Yeah.
And it starts with one. And so you're 3 years in now of taking the leap of being in business. Okay. What's something that you're able to do as an owner of a business that you were not able to do, work for somebody else?
What I really love about being a business owner is you really get to direct your, I guess, kind of your values. You get to direct that. Whereas when you're working for someone else, you got to kind of cap it.
Yeah.
But you get to decide what you're going to be about and what you're going to stand for. And you don't have to water it down for anyone. You can be what you need to be for your employees. There's some that you're going to want to or need to invest in, and you can do that on a personal level. If you need to get rid of somebody because they're toxic, you don't have to go through
the bureaucracy of it all. Yep.
Yeah. So you just kind of, you set the tone, and you get to be about what you're about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What excites you? What do you like to do outside of your business?
I love to travel. When we get the chance, we are very productive people. So we,
you heard that right. She used the word busy.
You're supposed to say productive.
Yep.
So I like to travel. I love to be with family. I love being with my sisters, my nieces and nephews, but I really have come to appreciate just downtime.
Yeah.
It's just, it may sound boring, but just reading and growing my spirit. And that's what I do. And I'm very comfortable doing that.
You're comfortable with it.
Yeah.
Really, you never mention, I do this for the money, although it brings an income. It's, maybe speak to our audience about those early times where income wasn't coming in. Did you second guess yourself? Were there any doubts? Walk them through that.
So the only time I really doubted myself, well, I won't even say doubted myself, but I doubted the decision to be in business for myself is when I was in a moment of not managing myself very well. So even as a business owner, it takes work.
That's for sure.
I mean, and it takes discipline. And, you can go, but you have to know when to manage yourself and discipline, to take care of you, or you're going to be wiped out, burned out. But as far as the money part, if that's why I encourage everyone, let it be something you're passionate about, because the passion is going to drive you past the fact that you're not making. So I started to pay myself, a little bit, but even in year 2, I still didn't pay myself anywhere near what I was making in corporate.
That's right.
And now, I got to a place of where, the business was I had employees. I do have employees. We've had up to 10 employees.
Okay.
Right now we have 6.
Okay.
We usually beef back up in the summer. They were always paid on time, and I'm happy to say that.
Yay.
And we provide health benefits and all of that. But you do get to a point in business where you have to know when to make the shift. And I had to learn that. So the business is making money, but I'm still super conservative and not paying myself much, thinking, I want to make sure we have this amount here. Employees are still paid. We're saving up here. But I was also violating something because now the blessing is kicking in and I'm not taking advantage of it. And so it's like, now you got to trust me on a higher level, because I need you to come up and pay yourself more and trust that more is going to continue to come in. Now you're violating the blessing that's trying to get to you.
Yep.
So you have to make that, but I had to learn that.
Yep.
And then it's like knowing that you're going to want to be getting a house soon, and your income matters.
You have to show the
income.
income.
So if you're trying to be all conservative, you're shooting yourself in the foot.
Yep.
You got to know when to make the shift.
Yep.
So I've learned to do that.
Ooh, did y'all hear that? That is some wisdom right there. I mean, yes, your business gets to a point where you're bringing in income and employees are getting paid, and then you're so right, because I remember I was paying myself about $52,000 a year.
Mm-hmm.
And again, I'd never made more than 55 ever in a job.
Yeah.
And just one day, God was like, literally, he was like, are you going to trust me for another level? Are you going to trust me? The money is there. Are you going to trust me? Because it's like, yeah, but what happens if the toilet goes? Or what happens if the water heater? Or what happens if I have to lay somebody off and have to take time away from what I do in my task to train somebody else? And what happens if I have to hire somebody else at a higher salary to replace that guy? Was like, trust me. And when you own your own business, the ability, I remember telling my wife, I said, baby, I gave myself a $20,000 a year raise. Now, I had never gotten a raise ever.
Yeah.
Ever in my working career. My pathway, what I did was just, I didn't have the success that you had. I never gotten a raise ever and never made more than $55,000 a year. And to a drop of a hat to believe and to say, you know what, I'm going to give myself a raise today.
Mm-hmm.
It's just one of the blessings of owning your own business.
It is. You get to do that. Yeah. But some wisdom that I got too before doing that is, even in your business, the same way before you take the leap, you want to have a certain amount saved up.
Talk about that.
Even in your business, you want to make sure you have at least 2 to 3 months worth of expenses in savings. You can get there.
Yep.
Put it away. And then another a nugget I got from our pastor was, do not, while you're doing that, try to avoid purchases over maybe $400 or so, 3 or 4. Just if you can avoid those, even supplies at one time, try to avoid the big purchases, and then just continue to save. Get this amount, or what? Yeah, it's about 2 to 3 months worth of expenses, including your lease if you're leasing. And then you can start paying yourself, or enhancing the building, the business, projects like that. But and continue to save. Don't stop saving. And so that was some of the best wisdom I ever grasped, I guess, because we did that and had a nice cushion. So even when COVID hit, we were able to take care of our employees for at least 2 to 3 pay periods.
There were people that shut down immediately.
And so I'm grateful that we didn't have to do that. Yeah. Now, wisdom is to not wipe your savings out.
Sure.
But we were able to get to a point that carried them at least 3 pay periods. And we never had to let them go.
Yeah.
So,
yeah. And because when you own a business, you're responsible for payroll.
mm-hmm.
And these are people that are relying on us, right? And because you had enough foresight to be disciplined, to have money put away, you were able to have that cushion to help people out. And, if you're listening to this, it's not about you, right? It's not about you. And the greatest leaders are the greatest servers. And there's a humility about it.
Mm-hmm.
There's no wonder people come to your pet resort because of your spirit. You mentioned you and your husband went to one, at another part of town. You're just like, I can't believe people this is you shouldn't have this feeling.
Mm-hmm.
And you took that and said, you know what? I can provide something for people. And your first client still comes back. It's just, I love that. Where do you see yourself in 2 years, personally or business wise or whatever?
Yeah, from a business perspective, I see multiple locations. I always remain open. I have a plan, but I'm open for something to shift or a different direction, not from pet care though, but I see at least one more business getting started. And I would love to, I guess I'm tipping over into long-term goals now. I would love to get a group started where we go after apartment communities.
Wow.
And that's the real estate passion in me that, but I would love to get a group together where we go after that, communities or hotels or really apartment buildings and all of that. But I see pet resorts across the country. I see franchise in Furr Kingdom. We are the only one, we started from scratch. So I do see franchising that out.
The beauty is when you start right by doing things the right way, not skimping on things, but doing things the right way, you create a model that can be duplicated based on your actual example, not based on words.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of people who, they can't use their life as an example because they didn't do things the right way.
Mm-hmm.
And I totally see your brand. I totally see your company all over the country if that's what you see fit. Because you've lived the experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so therefore, you can share. It's interesting. This podcast, I was sharing with you before, I had never been on a podcast before I did my own.
This is my first.
I had never subscribed or really listened to a podcast. I may have seen one on YouTube maybe, but I wasn't a ongoing listener of one. And I had never used a travel agency before I opened up one. And you had never owned or worked for a pet resort. And it's just something about when you get a vision for something that things open up. What's one thing, and we're kind of coming to a close, what's one thing you want to leave for maybe a young lady that's listening to this? I want you to speak to the young lady. Not that gender or guy won't get anything from it, but people are listening to this, but they're also watching this and they're seeing you, right? And they're seeing this glow that you have today. But speak to that young lady that's listening and watching this and speak to her spirit.
Yeah, I would just encourage her to go for it. Believe in herself. Know that she has value. Know that she has something amazing that nobody else has. She has something that's very unique to her. And no one else can be as good as she will ever be in it. And no one else will be able to do it the way that she does it. Someone else may be at a different place in their journey doing something similar, but they'll never be able to do it like she does it. So if she doesn't do it, it doesn't get done.
Wow.
So I would just encourage her to go for it, believe in herself, find God. God is my foundation in everything. And all of your answers, all of your direction is wrapped up in him. And if you go after that, you will find the path you should be on, and you will be successful. You will prosper. You will win. And then you will be able to affect someone else. Your life now becomes an example. And that's the most important thing, just for somebody like you mentioned to be able to look at you and know, I can do this too, because you are the living example of it. So
Furr Kingdom Pet Resort and Daycare.
Yeah.
Where can they find you? Where can they find you digitally? Where can they find you social medially? Where can they find you physically, your actual business?
Yeah. So we are in Mannequin Sabbath, Goochland, Virginia.
Okay.
And our website is furrkingdom.com. We're on Facebook. We're on Instagram. Yeah.
Go ahead and pause this video. Go ahead and stop. If you're driving, go ahead and pull over and go ahead and like something.
Yeah,
right
like
now.
Something.
Subscribe, follow. If you got a pet, I mean, did you hear a spirit? Did you hear Kindle spirit? And if you live in Virginia, oh my gosh.
It's where you and your pet are royalty. So if you have a pet, bring them on over.
Wow. Well, thank you for spending some time with us today.
Absolutely. Thank you for having me.
Folks, I don't know if you're driving to work. I don't know if you're driving home from work. I don't know if it's 3:00 in the morning. I'm just graciously thankful that you would spend time with us and listen, hear Kindle Rayfield. Oh my gosh, this was amazing. And just thank you. Thank you. And thank you for our followers and our listeners. We want to bring value to you so that you yourself can make the leap. This is Tim May with the Leap Podcast.
If you enjoyed this episode, be sure to subscribe so you are notified when a new episode is posted. Rate and review this podcast and share it with your friends who you know would also love to take the leap. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you are leaving with some great things that can help you on your pathway to full-time business ownership. Now go out there and put one foot in front of the other. Until next time.